everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Em, and welcome to a library reading vlog. So it's currently Clear Your Shit season, which is a storied readathon that I'm doing. That's what my weekly vlogs are covering, is what I'm reading for the Clear Your Shit prompts. But I am also still checking things out from my library, and I have a lot of library books that I need to read, so I thought we could do that in a separate vlog so I'm not muddying the waters too much for my Clear Your Shit vlogs. And I have 4 books out from the library that I need to read quickly because they are either new books, or I know for a fact there are several people behind me with holds, so I will not be able to renew these in a couple of weeks when they come up. So the books that I am going to be reading in this vlog are Slewfoot by Brom. This was on my fall TBR. I also put this on my horror bingo board TBR. It's been circulating for a while. I finally got a hold in. It's time to read it and to see what I think. I'm so nervous, but also excited. I hope I love it. It is set in puritanical England. Puritan England? There we go, that's what it is. And there is a witch element. I generally avoid books taking place during witch trials because nothing good is going to happen to a woman in that time period. But this book seems to be really beloved, and so I'm hoping that I will love it. Fingers crossed. I'm so scared. And then I also got in I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman. This is translated by Ross Schwartz. And I was supposed to read this for my SFF book club in September. That's how long I've had a hold on this book. It is very popular right now, and I just got it today. I've got 3 weeks to read this sucker because I can't renew it because it's a new book. Well, new as in the library just got it not that long ago, and the wait line is so long. So hopefully I'm also hoping if I vlog the library books, it'll motivate me to pick them up sooner. I also have the book that I'm going to be reading this month for the Betty Pages Challenge Yourself Reading Challenge, which I didn't talk about in my November TBR, but that's fine. We all know that my monthly TBRs are just suggestions and not actual, like, strict rules, right? It's guidelines. It's guidelines. Anyways, I got Against Technoableism by Ashley Shue. And this is actually pretty short nonfiction. I've heard really good things about this book, and it's basically like we have all this new technology, all this new stuff, but is anybody actually asking what the disabled community needs to access these technologies? So looking forward to this. I've heard, like I said, I've heard really good things. And then the last book that is also a new book, so I need to read it quick, is Julie Chan is Dead by Lian Zhang. This is a thriller that came out earlier this year. It has been like a booktube darling. I feel like everybody's read it. Everybody's loving it. I'm not picking it up because of the booktube hype, though. I am picking it up because an in real life friend keeps asking me if I've read it, and I'm tired of telling her no. So I got it so I could finally read it. And actually I'm seeing her tomorrow night, so maybe I need to start it first so that when I see her I can say I started it, because I'm sure she'll ask me about it, because we always end up talking about books, and the first question is, have you read Julie Chan is Dead yet? Maybe this is book 1 up on the list. But anyways, that is the plan for this video. Thank you for joining me as we embark on this endeavor. That was a bad stack up. If you've read any of these, let me know what your thoughts. If you think I'll like it, give me your predictions, and then we can check back in at the end of the video and see how aligned we are in our bookish opinion. All right, I guess I better stop yapping and start reading. Let's do it. Julie Chan is Dead, or just about halfway through, and oof, I'm not having a fun time with this book. I have seen several people read it, and they read it in very much a had to keep turning the page to find out what was going to happen, and like flew through this book. I am sick to my stomach about what is going to happen to Julie. If you don't know what this book is about, Julie Chan is an identical twin, and she works at the supermarket. She lives paycheck to paycheck, just scraping by. She's not very happy with her life. She was, her parents died when she was pretty young, and she was raised by her aunt, who is basically abusive. And she's not happy. And then she has her twin sister, Chloe, who was adopted by this white couple and is a mega influencer on the internet and has a ton of money. And basically, they had one interaction with each other as adults, and Chloe didn't want anything to do with her anymore. And then one night, Julie gets a really cryptic phone call from Chloe, and that ends suddenly. And so Julie ends up going to Chloe's apartment to check in on her and finds Chloe dead. And through a series of unintended decisions, Julie claims Chloe's identity and is now like masquerading as Chloe in New York City, pretending that she is this multi-millionaire influencer. I am so stressed out by this book. I am so stressed out. I am so frustrated with Julie. I do want to keep reading because I want to find out what's going to happen. I know there's a scene towards the end that is particularly shocking because that's all I've heard from everyone who's read this book online or in real life, but I don't like this. This is making me so anxious, and I keep putting it down and like taking a couple of days break from it because it's making me so anxious. So I'm gonna keep going because I'm like halfway through. Chapters are short. I'm not having a good time. Julie's not having a good time either. So at least we are together in that. And then I actually got something that I didn't intend to read, but I saw it on the Goodreads Choice Awards for nonfiction, and I haven't read anything by this author before, and I really wanted to, so I got it, the ebook, from my library, and it is The Serviceberry: Abundance and Reciprocity in the Natural World by Robin Wall Kimmerer. And this is the author of Braiding Sweetgrass. And I've wanted to read Braiding Sweetgrass for a while, but The Serviceberry is like a long essay. My Kobo says it's 107 pages. I bet it's actually probably a lot shorter than that. And I just started it the other night. I read one chapter. It was lovely. I don't really have anything more to say about that other than that, but I mean, it felt like I needed to do a little bit of a reading update. My plan is to finish both of these this weekend, if I can do that. And then I can start the two shorty patorties that I have on my library stack, because those are the two I'm kind of the most nervous about finishing in time before they're due back at the library. But these are both going fine. This is definitely more comforting than this is, but yeah, I'm curious to see where this goes. Hello, I have some updates. We're also going to try to beat my camera battery because it is like at the 50% mark, and it goes from 50% to 0 incredibly quickly. But I finished some books, I started some books, we have things to talk about. I finished Julie Chan is Dead, and I landed on a 4-star. While this does have some horror elements, it definitely leans more thriller, and I'm not really a thriller reader. I read maybe half a thriller a year, and it's usually got like another genre mixed in there if I have read a thriller in the year. This is my second thriller for the year, and I don't generally care for thrillers because I think you usually have something of a unreliable narrator going on. Not as much the case with this, but you also have a character who is in crisis for the entire book, and I do not like reading our main character in crisis for a whole book. I like to get to know them before the shit hits the fan so that I have an idea of like what they're like, and there is no getting to know Julie before the shit hits the fan. She also, she has so many emotional meltdowns in this book, and they are very valid and warranted, but as a reader, it was just really hard for me to watch her have meltdowns all the time, and it was really frustrating because I was like, oh my god, would you just get up and do something to take care of the situation instead of just like, it's like every time there was the choice between a a fight, flight, or freeze response, she just froze every single time. And it was so frustrating. Now, I am giving it a 4 because at the end of the day, I liked the writing. And this is Lian Zhang's debut, and I think it's a really good debut. It's really strong. I think this is a really good version of a thriller. Like, I've read one other thriller this year, and I think it was a bad version of a thriller. I think this is a good thriller. And so if you are a thriller reader, like, I definitely recommend it. I think it's really good. It's just not my favorite genre. It did go totally unhinged at the end, and I'm not sure I liked the way that it resolved. But I think it's definitely a me problem. And I think if you like thrillers and you haven't picked this up yet, you should pick it up because I think you'll like it. And then I kind of like faffed about trying to figure out what to pick up next. I did try to start I Who Have Never Known Men, and that is just not the vibe right now. Not taking it off the TBR for this week, or for this vlog, but it's just not, I can't do it right now. I did read the first chapter. Oh, we have to do another review. Sorry. I did finish the Serviceberry, which I don't think I talked to you about, but I had this on hold as an ebook and it came in, and it's this long-ish essay that Robin Wall Kimmerer wrote for a newspaper or a magazine, and it's just about how we have, oh yeah, I did tell you about this, and it's just about abundance mindset, which I read this book about abundance earlier this year and I really liked it. And then this one, I feel like these are good companion books to read together because the other one is more like political abundance and how do we solve the problems that the United States has using an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. And I loved the ideas in that. I got frustrated because I wanted like a this is how we achieve abundance mindset in our government, and it didn't have like a step-by-step plan, and I wanted a step-by-step plan. And then Robin Wall Kimmerer's book is abundance mindset from a nature standpoint and from an indigenous standpoint, and this I think I liked even better. I gave it 5 stars. I love how she talked about community and relating abundance and scarcity back to nature, and like how we save ourselves from this capitalistic hellscape that is destroying our planet and slowly destroying us and our connections to each other. I just absolutely loved it. I have not read Braiding Sweetgrass yet, but I really want to after having read this because I love the way she wrote. I love the way she talked about the ideas in this book, and it's very short. So like if you're like me and you also wanted to read Braiding Sweetgrass but are a little intimidated, this is such an itty bitty bite-sized book. It's a great step in to see if you're gonna like her writing style, which I really did. And then since I finished that, I started Against Technoableism. I've only read the first chapter, but Ashley Shu is a disabled individual, and this book is talking about how there are all these resources and tools for making technology more accessible, but the people who are making these decisions aren't disabled, and they're not asking disabled people what would actually make their lives easier. And so this is her answer of like, hey, maybe talk to the people who are actually going to be using the tools that you're developing. And I like it so far. I think I'm going to learn a lot. I just like the tone. I like the vibe she has brought to her narration. I'm just reading it physically, but yeah, so far so good. I really like it. I like that it's a mix of facts and anecdotes of hers or of friends, or just like it's things she's observed moving through the world as a disabled person in community with other disabled people, and watching all the thoughtless things able-bodied people do, whether their intentions are good or not. And then this one I definitely didn't talk about because I wasn't sure if I was going to get to it, but last night when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to read, I have all these horror books on my library stack, and I just wasn't in the mood for a horror book. And so I decided to continue my Olivia Blake obsession and start with Masters of Death, which is like a vampire book. One of the narrators is Death, and I don't know, I got 44 pages in last night. I'm having a great time already. We start off with Death narrating and introducing us to one of the main characters named Fox, who's a medium, but he's also kind of a grifter. And then we switch to our other main character's POV, and that's Viola, and she's a vampire, but she's a Filipino vampire, which are called ashwangas. I might be pronouncing it wrong. And my youngest is super into cryptids, and we have a book about cryptids from different parts of the world. And ashwangas is in it. And so I felt like, oh, look at that. I actually know what you're talking about. Thank you. So this one I really loved right off the bat. I can see starting with Death as a narrator is a choice because you are going to either love it or hate it. And I loved it. It's very voicey, which I absolutely love. I've said that before. I'm a big fan of a voicey narrator. I can see this really bothering people though, if this is not your thing. So sorry, I'm coming down with a cold. I'm trying to edit out all the sniffles. Hopefully none sneak it in, but if like you catch the tail end of one, that's the problem over here. But here's an example of what I mean, where this narration style is either really going to work for you or you're going to hate it. Death, being a creature of near omniscience and mostly unquestioned venerability, surmised that he was being mocked, which was itself the branch of a more perennial suspicion that he'd erred somewhat critically during the formative years of his recalcitrant ward. In lieu of pressing the issue, however, Death turned again to the woman who sat curled in around herself on the love seat, waiting patiently for a fox to have called upon her broadly. I love that kind of writing. Makes me so happy. I went back and I reread that paragraph like 3 times. And that's where am right now, is I am just like rereading sentences, paragraphs, lines, because I find the way Olivia Blake strings a sentence together to be so satisfying. So I think what's going to happen is Viola has this haunted mansion. Oh, Viola is also a real estate agent, and she has this mansion that's haunted that she can't get anybody to buy because the ghost keeps fucking it up. And so she's going to get Fox, the medium, to come and I guess like cleanse the house and get rid of the ghost. And there's going to be a lot of other characters. I've met a few of them. We've met the unruly poltergeist. I've met the demonic personal trainer, who I like her a lot. And then there's a sharp-voiced angel and a love-stricken reaper. And then I think also Vi and Fox are going to fall in love. And I'm loving it. I'm having the best time. I do have the audiobook from the library as well that came in a few days ago, which like prompted me to pick this up. I haven't listened to it on audio yet, but I'm just loving it. It's so good. All right, I'm gonna go drink my tea and handle my nose situation, and come back when I've finished something or when I have an update partway through.
Okay, plot twist. The library called. Okay, well, they didn't call. They sent a automated email, and they want Slewfoot back in 5 days, if you count today. But it's like almost 6:30, so I don't think we're counting today. So in 4 days. So I need to pause Masters of Death and read this now.
Good morning. It is Saturday morning. I'm still in my jammies. I am just taking it easy. I feel like my voice sounds really bad, but I feel much better. I did get sick, but I feel better. My voice just sounds awful today. Anyways, we need to talk about Slewfoot. I'm some ways of the way into this book. I'm 232 pages in. And I liked it at the beginning. Okay. All right, here. If you have not read Slewfoot, Slewfoot is about this woman named Abatha, who is from England, and she's basically sold to this Puritan dude who lives in the Americas, and she's sent on a ship, and it's a marriage, not of convenience, a marriage of indentured servitude. But she actually lucks out, and she is married to this very sweet man named Edward, who is very gentle and soft-spoken, and is very caring of her. However, Edward has a real bastard of a brother named Wallace who is trying to cheat Edward out of his land, and Wallace is one of those men who thinks everything he does is great and ordained by God, and everybody who disagrees with him is out to get him or is at the behest of Satan, and can't understand why people would not want to go along with the things he wants them to do, even if it means that they are going to suffer or be downtrodden, like as long as, because it's like
God's right that Wallace should have his way and everything. So Edward dies, and Wallace sets about trying to steal Abatha's land from her, and she is determined to make it work because otherwise she's really going to be an indentured servant to Wallace for like the remainder of her life. And Abatha cannot fathom that kind of future. And then she finds this creature named Samson, who I'm just it's homeboy on the back. This is Samson. And Samson helps her get the farm working and productive so that she can pay off the last remainder of the debt that Edward had so that the farm can be hers. And then, of course, she is accused of witchcraft by the town. And as you saw in that little like thing that I showed, lots of people are going to die. So here's the deal. I picked this up kind of reluctantly, mostly because of FOMO, but I do not read books set in Puritan England because the Puritans were dicks. And I know when I pick up a book set in that time period that nothing good is going to happen to a woman, ever. And it's going to be a bad time. And I have gotten to that part of the book where, I mean, it hasn't been a good time for Abatha. Abatha has been through it in the way these pious churchgoers, their cruelty, the way they treat her, the way they treat, like just how strict the rules were, especially for women in Puritan society. It's just the cruelty and the lack of, I don't know, like self-examination is horrendous. And I've gotten to the point where it's the witch trials, where Abatha has been accused and she's basically being tortured. Like we've had the trial and now she's basically being tortured. And I kind of want to DNF it. I have like 75 pages and I know, you know from that little thing at the beginning that I'm sure Samson's going to sweep in and like massacre everybody, which at this point I'm like, yeah, good, do it. They deserve it. But I don't know if I want to read everything that's going to happen to Abatha between where I'm at now and then. I just find it so upsetting. It's so upsetting because it's so cruel and pointless and like just highlights the worst of humanity. And in 2025 in the United States, I don't feel like I need to look to fiction to have the worst of humanity highlighted. Like I can just look around at what is happening in my community with like ICE abducting high school students. Like it's here. It's here. I don't need it here. So I don't know if anybody's going to be upset about this. Hopefully nobody's that invested in my reading, but I think I might DNF it. It's also due back today. And yeah, I could read 75 pages. It'd be easy to get done because it's an easy book to read. It gets gone by pretty quick, but at what cost? So I haven't decided yet. That's pesky sunk cost fallacy is rearing its head, but I just don't want to. I can also feel that reading this part is making me really on edge and cranky and upset, and it's making me short with my kids because I'm upset, and I'm the only parent this weekend, so I can't just like emotionally check out because of a book. I really gotta like prioritize the real life things and not the fictional things. So yeah, I think this is going to be my DNF, and maybe I'll like skip ahead and just read Samson wreaking havoc on these villagers, but outside of my dislike for witch trial books, I think this is fine. This was never a 5-star. I found the dialogue a little clunky a few times, especially with Abatha and Samson. It just didn't, I don't know, it felt very staccato and awkward, and like, I'm like, this isn't how, this doesn't feel like how people would actually talk, even like Puritan people. It just felt weird. So even at the point before the witch trials, it probably would have been like a 3.5, maybe a 3.75. So this was never going to be a 5-star. I can see the appeal and I can see why people do love it, but it's not, it was never going to be a new all-time favorite book for me. All right, I'm gonna stop yapping and I'm gonna drink my coffee because I've only had like 3 sips and I think that will help. And I'm gonna determine how sad I want to be today. Okay, it is hours later. Also, the middle kid is pretending like they are Kristen Chenoweth, so if you can hear that in the background, no you can't. I finished Slewfoot. I ended up skipping the Puritan torture scenes because I just couldn't do it, but I did finish it and I read to the end, and I'm going to give it a 3. I found the ending really frustrating for a lot of reasons. I don't think my reasons get into spoiler territory, but if you really want to know nothing, maybe skip what I'm about to say. I found the ending disappointing because I felt like Abatha and Samson were forced into the very roles that they didn't want to be in. Like, the cruelty of humans and of this village and of the Puritans forced them into these roles that they were really uncomfortable with and didn't want in the first place. And I didn't like that. I wanted their revenge to be, part of their revenge to be the townspeople realizing how ignorant and awful that they had been, and that wasn't the case. The townspeople, I feel like, felt not justified, but they felt like they were proven correct. And I didn't like that. I wanted them to know that they were wrong and that their hate had led to these events, and I don't feel like that was the end result. Also, there were some side plot stuff happening with Samson that were pretty boring, to be honest, throughout the whole book. Anytime it just focused on Samson, my energy dipped pretty low. I was pretty invested in Abatha's story. I really liked Abatha as a character. I really liked her personality, her perseverance. I like how she approached problems and her kindness and her generosity. I think Abatha's a really good character. I just feel like she was done dirty in a lot of ways in just the whole plot of the book, and then just also in her revenge. I wanted her revenge to be more and to be different, and I feel like Brom didn't fully commit to bringing Abatha the justice she deserved. I also didn't like the epilogue. I felt like the epilogue was really pointless, so the ending was much stronger if you stop before the epilogue. I feel like the epilogue dilutes the ending, but anyways, those are my thoughts. Am I glad I read this? I don't know. I guess, because now I won't feel like, oh, I need to read this. I won't have any FOMO. I can understand why people like this and why it's a 5-star favorite for some people. I don't think less of anybody who likes this book. It just wasn't, I knew it was going to be a hard sell when I picked it up because of the time period it takes place in. So I guess I'm not that disappointed because I didn't have high expectations, I guess, kind of. But then I did because I've heard so many good things. I don't know what I think. I just know it wasn't for me. But I would say pick it up if you like witchy books. I don't think it's too horrific. I would say it's more historical fiction with some horror elements than straight out horror. It doesn't really get gruesome until the end. Also, if you don't like bugs, maybe don't pick it up. There's a lot of bug stuff. Not as bad as maybe Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle, but it's there. Think The Mummy, with Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. If you can handle that level of bug stuff, then I think you'll be fine in Slewfoot. So now that that's done, I'm going back to Masters of Death, which I've been reading slowly but not devoting a lot of time to because I was trying to finish Slewfoot. So I'm going to go back to that and to the technoableism book. And this vlog can only go for maybe 5 more days, and then it needs to go up because I need a video to go up. So we're just going to see what I can get done in those 5 days. I finished Against Technoableism and I'm going to give it 5 stars. I always learn so much when I read books about disability and disability advocacy. I think it's a really useful genre of nonfiction to explore. So if you haven't, I highly recommend it. I think this is a good place to start. I also think Disability Visibility, I think, is the title. This one is really good. I learned a lot reading this one, and I continued to learn more. This is about disabled technology and how often disabled technology that's developed for people with disabilities, the people developing it aren't disabled themselves. And this, I think, does a really good job of balancing Ashley Shue's lived experience as a person with multiple disabilities and also research,
history, anecdotal evidence from other people in the disabled community. It's just really comprehensive, very informative, very humanizing, which I think is important given how disabled people can be treated by society as a whole. And yeah, I just highly recommend it. It's short, lots of information packed into a short little book. I think I probably got the most out of the last chapter, which was like accessible futures, and her talking about how eventually, because of how aging works, everyone is going to be disabled at some point, and that it's really important to think about society in those terms, and how do we shift society's focus to build things and create things with disabled users in mind, instead of trying to retrofit something that's already made to fit disabled people. Does that make sense? Like, the example she used was airplanes. Like, airplanes are incredibly inconvenient for wheelchair users and like not functional at all if you're a wheelchair user. And instead of like trying to retrofit airplanes to make them accessible for wheelchair users, why don't we just, when we build airplanes, build an airplane that a wheelchair user can access, you know? And then I'm about halfway through Masters of Death, and I thought of the way to describe this. If you watched the TV show Good Omens and liked all the banter, this book is all the banter from Good Omens, and very little plot. It is very character focused, kind of, but very bantery. And I was having such a good time with it, but at 200 pages in, I am a little bit bored. And the 4-star and 5-star reviews on Storygraph do assure me that it drags a little bit in the middle, but that the ending is worth it. And I'm trying to decide if I trust those reviews and I push through, or if I honor my boredom and I DNF. I was totally off base about this plot. This is not a romance between Vi and Fox. We just have a mishmash of paranormal creatures. Death is no longer the narrator. We had that in the beginning, and now it's switched to third person, and Death has gone missing. And so Vi and Fox and these other paranormal creatures are entering into this game, like almost like it's like a competition. It almost sounds like poker when they're talking about it, but I don't think that's quite what it is. I'm honestly really confused about what all is happening right now, because we just keep jumping around, and because so many of these creatures are immortal, or there's literal angels and demons, so they can just kind of like flit through time. And like Fox is mortal, but because his godfather is Death, he's lived for a really long time, like 200 years plus. And I just I'm a little confused and not sure what's happening. And I love the writing, I love the banter, I love like all the quips, but I don't know if I love it. And this is 500 pages. Oh god, it's 400 pages. Okay, it's 400 pages, so I'm like literally halfway through. That might be too much for me. I am a little exhausted and a little bored, and not quite sure what I want to do, because I only have 2 more days with this vlog. So I need to make a choice. If I lock in and I try to read 200 pages really quickly, which I don't know if that's the vibe for this book. I don't know that binging it, well, I don't know, maybe binging it is the right choice, because I definitely was loving it the most when I was reading it constantly, and then I took a little bit of a break to read a different book, and then I think that was the problem. So then I took a few days off. So maybe I just need to focus on it, but also my attention span has been trash the last 3 days, 4 days. Anyways, clearly unsure of what to do. So it's like 5 to 9. I think I might just get in bed and see how much I can read before bed, and then see how I feel in the morning. I would really hate to DNF it, because I do like her writing so much. And I like all these characters. I don't think they're all fully fleshed out. Like, I think some are just there to be foibles for like our main characters, but like Archangel Gabriel and Raphael are characters, and they're so funny when they have their little scenes together. They're not in it very much, but they're so funny the way they just like snipe back and forth at each other, and it's just one-liner after one-liner. And I think it's like, it's a very, I know I said this already, but it's a very specific voice that is either really going to work for you or really isn't going to work for you. And I really like it. I don't want to DNF it, but I'm bored. It's a little update. Hopefully I'll back tomorrow with a few firmer thoughts, but that's how I'm feeling right now, and I think I just need to go to bed. All right, it's a couple days later, and I said I was going to end this vlog today on Wednesday, but I flip-flopped my December TBR in this video, so this can go a couple more days. I have continued on with Masters of Death. I'm 308 pages in with like 70 something pages to go, and I just don't care anymore, which is, I'm so sad. I'm so sad that this isn't holding my attention. I have been home all day. It's currently just after 3:30. I've been home all day. The kids and I did like a device-free morning, and in all that time, I never sat down to read. Like, I am actively choosing other things to do because I've lost so much interest in what is happening. Even now that they're playing the game, I just don't care. I think it's too long. I think this book is too long. And I did get the audiobook from the library. The audiobook does not do this book service. Steve West is the narrator, and while I think he is a fine narrator, there are so many characters in this book because of how heavily it relies on dialogue and banter. Just having one narrator, and a narrator who doesn't do women's voices particularly well, and half the cast is women, it just doesn't work. And it does a disservice, and so it's not a good audiobook experience. And normally when I'm struggling to finish a book, I rely on the audiobook, but I can't even do that because the audiobook makes it worse. I think I just have to DNF. I'm so sad. Like, literally, I'm so sad right now. Even though I'm smiling, I'm really upset that I'm DNFing it, but I think that's just what I have to do, because otherwise I'm just going to it's going to take me 5 days to finish 75 pages. At the rate I do not want to finish this book. Like, I do not want to read it. But I hate DNFing it after I loved One for My Enemy so much. And I loved the beginning of this book. But it just switched so much. I think having Death narrate at the beginning was so fun. And then the voice switch just wasn't, I don't know, it just didn't have the same level of enjoyment for me as that first little bit did. So yeah, it's a DNF. But I do want to read at least one more book. I have a couple of short books that I got from the library, and I actually had put these on my December TBR, but I might as well just read them now. I'm gonna for sure read House of Idyll. This is Delilah S. Dawson's newest release. I really liked Bloom. Bloom I gave 5 stars. I don't remember what I gave Guillotine. I think it might have been 4 stars. I didn't love it, but I did really like it. And then this is about a Hollywood dream turned nightmare. So it has to do with fame, and I think there's like a rock band in here, and something really horrific involving unicorns. So I think I'm gonna start this because it's short. I read Delilah S. Dawson pretty quick. It's horror. It'll be a good time. And then if I have time, I'll try Psychopomp and Circumstance by Eden Royce. This is another horror book that just came out. This one is, I think, grief horror. Yeah, I'll check back in when I made progress with this. All right, it's a few days later, but I did finish House of Idyll, and this was okay. Hi, this is Editing Emily. I realized I never told you what this book was about. House of Idyll is about Angelina, who is a singer-songwriter who is living in LA, and she's really struggling. She is
estranged from her family. Her parents were very restrictive. She grew up super religious and just didn't have a great childhood. And she's really struggling to make it in LA, but LA is really expensive, and she's working at what Dawson doesn't explicitly say is a Starbucks, but is a Starbucks. And she gets evicted from her living situation and fired in rapid succession, and she's on this bench on the street crying, freaking out, trying to figure out what her next step is going to be. And this limo pulls up and this guy invites her to come with him, and she is taken to like this compound out in the countryside that is all these artists who are invited to live there free of charge just to make their art. And it's run by this rock band called Black Idyll that Angelina has loved since she was a teenager, and it's it goes from there. So yeah, that's your basic synopsis, and I won't say more because I think since this book is so short, saying too much more kind of spoils it. So we'll go back to past Emily, who can continue justifying her rating of the book.
Definitely my least favorite of Lila S. Dawson's 3 most recent horror novellas. I think she's really good about putting her main characters in a situation where, as the reader, you see the red flags a mile away and are screaming at the main character to get out while she still can, and she doesn't. And that can be so effective at building this sense of dread and unease. So I think she still does that really well in this. I just think if you've read Bloom and Guillotine, you should know that this is not nearly as unhinged as those 2 books are, in my opinion. I am only giving this a 3.5 because I am disappointed by how it ended, and I feel like we needed an extra maybe like 25 to 30 pages just because there were things that were left unanswered of like kills that happened that I don't understand why or how they related to the story or why they mattered or were important. So I definitely still have some questions. And yeah, like I said, it just didn't go there in the way that I now expect from Delilah S. Dawson. So 3.5, kind of disappointed. I was very disappointed when I finished it, but I also read it easily. I actually read it a lot slower because I thought it was gonna get gross and unhinged. And so I was purposefully not reading it before bedtime, and I could have read it before bedtime. It wouldn't have affected my sleeping at all. I just had thought because like Bloom, I was nauseous for hours after finishing it, and Guillotine, kind of similar. I was like unsettled for a long time after finishing that one, and I just not the same problem. So anyways, I'm glad I read it because I do like her writing, and I think what she does with her books is very interesting. Like, I liked the format and the structure of this. I just found the ending, I found like the rising action, the climax, and the ending disappointing. But yeah, so that is the last book for this vlog. So we're gonna wrap it up. And I don't even remember what I've read in this vlog. I think I've read 5 things, 6 if you count Masters of Death, but honestly, I spread this out over so much time. I have no idea what's happened, but I feel like this was kind of an underwhelming reading vlog. I don't feel like there was very much that I loved outside of nonfiction, which is very disappointing, but that's just how it goes. That's why I get books from the library instead of buying them, because you just never know what is going to be a hit and what is going to be a flop. But anyways, if you've made it to the end of this video and you don't have anything to say, but you want to let me know you're here, I guess let's do a unicorn emoji, and like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Bye!